Hey everyone, Cyber Gamer here, and welcome to episode 6 of our Seaopolis world. Today's episode is actually a pretty exciting episode. Not only do we give this setup the boot, nah, I'm just kidding, but we actually make another setup and get some automation ready. We also get digital storage going. But that's not the most exciting part. Like, what? What could be more exciting? We make some new friends. Go check it out! Alright everyone, welcome back to our humble little base in the ocean. I did want to get some building done before I started today's episode. So we now have our official storage room here. I had a friend of mine help me figure out the walls and get those designed. I had a picture I was comparing it to, so I wanted to try and get as close as I could to that image to kind of give it more of that laboratory feel. This is where we're going to have our refined storage. I did end up making the compacting drawers because their starting carry amount is 128 stacks, where the regular drawer is 32. So when you apply the upgrades, it ends up being more efficient. That was a nice little tip from a friend of ours on the server, Mr. Off Summer. So I went ahead and just made a full wall of them. That way we can just have all of our stuff. We also get the added bonus of getting the compressed version of all the blocks that we're crushing and sieving. So that also helps too. And once I get it hooked up to our digital storage, it'll be access for automation, and it'll just make it a lot easier because then we'll have access to multiple types of blocks just through the fact that the drawers split it up. But this is what I've been getting started with. I do want to try and get our digital storage going today. So I'm going to get that going with our industrial furnace. There's also some other automation stuff I'd like to get fixed up. I want to get our sieves able to auto sieve and just have those resources constantly going. I also want to set up a better version of this because this setup right here, like I stated before, we had some off summer on the server giving us a nice tip, but this setup, it works. It works. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a tidbit slower than the Igneous Extruders from Thermal. So I am going to be switching these out for those. I believe there's also some extra recipes from those that we can possibly be able to use. So we can make gravel, we can actually make marble, smooth stone, we can directly make dust, which that's kind of cool. Cobblestone, sand, soulstone, don't know how much I'll need that. Netherrack and red sand. So everything that we can make right here, we can make with the Igneous Extruder. But it's a lot faster, and those machines actually have upgrades, which you see up here on my toolbar. We're going to get this changed out, get some more automation set up. We have been producing some resources with our sieves. I've been getting the crushed hammer going, making all the prismarine lights we needed. I'm going to go ahead and get started with mechanism. I'll probably pop down some more. Ooh, speaking of mechanism, we've also got solar panels. So far I've got 10. They each produce 117, which is plenty. So that's 1100 RF per tick that we're getting right now. The sieves use 120, hammer uses 40, machines use 20 to 60 anyways, so we're fine for now. Also, these are the advanced universal cables from Mechanism, and they have a transfer rate of 50,000. Let's see. Yes, 51,000. But anyways, I'm gonna get to work on that, and I will see you guys in a moment. And one more thing I forgot to mention. So these are actually the framed versions of compacting drawers, which is why they look like this. I used the clear glass and black concrete to make them. So if you look in here, we can actually make frame versions of all of the drawers. So each type of drawer, the compacting drawer, the drawer controller, the drawer slave, even trim. So you can frame the trim, and then in a 2x2 crafting grid, you'll put your frame here. And then you can put the 3 different blocks for the face, the trim, and the outlying box of the drawer. And that actually allows you to customize it. So if I wanted to connect more drawers, I can actually camouflage them into this entire wall if I wanted to just have items popping out. I'm not going to, but that's just an example. So you can definitely do a lot of customization with these drawers. Before, you couldn't do the compacting drawers controller and the slave. They didn't have the framing option for them. 116 they have, and I wanted to point that out. And we are back. Now, I did go ahead and get a little bit of a refine going. I'll explain that here in a second, but I also did the ocean exploration quest, the Golem Summoner. So we got some bodyguards to protect our supplies. So with refined storage, it's not a very complicated digital storage mod at all. It's actually quite simple to get started. Your basic components are going to be the processing binding, and that's string with some slime. And earlier we made slime using the mushrooms, mixing with witch water. The quartz enriched iron is the other part of it, and this is used for a lot of the different parts within refined storage. And that is made in the induction smelter. You can mix quartz with iron ingots and you'll get the 4 quartz enriched iron. Those are all pretty easy recipes, like I said. The one that's kind of different is the silicon. Normally you can just cook the nether quartz, but in this pack you actually get silicon dust from the sieves. So in the induction smelter, when you mix sand with the silicon dust, that's how you make the silicon. That's a little different from normal, but still not at all difficult. We have plenty of both of those, so there was no issues there. Once you get the processor binding the quartz enriched iron and the silicon, you can then start making the raw basic processors. So you have these, and they use iron, redstone, silicon processor binding. There's 3 different ones: the raw basic, raw improved, and the raw advanced. Improved just uses a golding, it's still the same recipe, and the advanced has the diamond. You'll cook these in a furnace, and those are all like the little crafting components to refined storage. You have the destruction core and the construction core as well. Those are just the basic processor mixed with nether quartz or glowstone. The main part of the refined storage system is the controller. Pretty easy: quartz enriched iron, silicone, advanced processor, and then the machine casing. This has actually been changed. Normally it doesn't require the machine casing. I believe it's a stone block, but in this pack you use the machine frame from thermal. Still pretty easy. These aren't difficult to make. We've already made quite a few of them. But you'll supply power to the controller, and then you can connect the cables to any part of the refined storage, and it'll give that power to those parts of refined storage. The other piece you'll use is either the grid, and the upgraded version of that is the crafting grid. I always go straight to the crafting grid because the grid's useful, but it's just simply look at the storage and deposit and extract. The crafting grid, on the other hand, you can actually craft immediately from it, and it actually uses the grid for it, and a crafting table and advanced processor, so it's really not a complicated recipe. And then the other part is the disk drive. This is what actually holds the storage disks. Now you are able to connect the refined storage system up to an external storage system like the drawers, which I have done. And you can also make storage disks. Now I went ahead and made the 64K just so I don't have to worry about making it for a little bit. 64K, the storage disks always tier up, so the 1K being the first one. To make the 4K, you'll use the 1K storage part, and it takes 3 of them to make one 4K storage part. And it just keeps going from there. So I went ahead and made the 64K, which ended up using a 27 1K storage disks. And as you can see, we do have all the inventory from the drawers. We have all the compressed blocks as well as the regular blocks, which is the other advantage to having the compressed drawers. It's going to really help us just with the auto crafting too, because some auto crafts use the blocks, some auto crafts use the single item. So, and we'll be able to craft directly from here. There. So I'm going to pull everything from our crafting room and I'm going to move it into here. I'm going to get started with mechanism, getting some more mechanism machines going. I do plan on using Flux Networks, and that's just wireless power transfer, so I can just have a plug down there with the controller underneath, and it'll be a little more compact. But I'm going to get to work on that as far as getting started on mechanism. Mechanism will also introduce a sort of ore tripling, so that'll be another thing I definitely want to get started. Alrighty, I will return. And we are back. I've done some redesigning. I shrunk the smelter down because I really didn't need that big smelter. I mostly wanted it that big so I could double my ores a lot quickly by stuffing it just full of them. But at the same time, we're going to be probably automating our ores with machines here pretty soon. And we'll be able to get into ore tripling and ore quadrupling through mechanism later on. So really not too worried about using tinkers for that. I also started setting up the crushers. I got a little area set up over here so that way I can input the items I want to input and then export the items I want to take out. Yes, this is hideous, I know. Definitely temporary, but these are the different sieve setups I'm going to have. Right now I only have one netherite mesh. I'm going to work towards getting the rest of these filled up, but this is actually the cool thing. This is called the auto compressor. This is the rationing version. So we have the auto compressor, which is the first version. This is used to make 2x2 and 3x3 recipes. So what this machine does is when it's supplied with power, it will auto compress items, whether it be into a 2x2 or 3x3. Now this one will use all the items as soon as it's full. Now the rationing one, on the other hand, this one does the exact same thing, only this one will always leave pieces in a slot. So it's almost like a way of filtering it. So as you can see, it never actually uses all of them. And right here we have osmium, lead, and uranium all with 4 pieces, but it's keeping them in that slot. So this helps us with filtering without actually having to set a filter. It'll compress these as they're getting pulled in. I was just emptying these chests, so now I'm going to kind of clean it up a little bit. It's still going to kind of look like this for now. I do want to kind of automate it with refined storage. So for now, I'm going to have this chest as my input. I'm going to have an output chest. It'll automatically go to the compressor, and then we'll get the ores in a separate chest. But once I get it automated and all hooked up to refined storage, won't be having to worry about that. I'll still have it hooked up to the compressor because I really don't want to have to store the pieces. I'd rather just store the ores and not worry about the pieces. So I'll have it automatically set up to the compressor, let it go ahead and just go from the compressor into our storage system. The other thing I set up were the Igneous Extruders that we were talking about. I set up 8 of them, one for gravel, dust, both the sands. We got some netherrack, and we also have regular cobble. These can get augmentations, making them even faster, just like with thermal machines using the integral components. On top of the fact that we can still add flux linkage amplifiers, we put 2 of those on there. Needless to say, this gets very, very fast. But that's what I've been working on now. I'm going to kind of take it back a little bit. I did also go ahead and set up, I built the pattern grid. So now we can actually make patterns for auto crafting. I set up a couple diamond crafters. I have not started making too many patterns. I literally made a pattern to make patterns. But outside of that, we still have plenty of space on our storage disk. I also made the crafting monitor. So this will actually let me watch auto crafting as it's taking place. And that'll let me know if it gets stopped up anywhere. So if it runs out of resources anywhere, I'll be able to know by looking at this, but we can get into that later once I actually start setting up the automation. This is all I'm going to do for it with net for now. I will get it more into it next episode, but I just really want digital storage. I'm horrible about just sticking chests everywhere and constantly having inventory issues. I like to have an empty inventory, but then again, I fill it with junk all the time. So I wanted to make sure I could take care of that pretty easily. But anywho, like I said, I do want to kind of take a step back. I want to get into the food creation. There's a mod in here called Farmer's Delight. First thing we're going to have to do is make a flint knife. And now we can go ahead and try and chop off all this. These just get placed on a cutting board, which we made earlier on when we cut up saddles in the first episode. And this will actually cut the cabbage into cabbage leaves. But I'm going to go ahead and get all this. I do want to also make the cooking pot, which lets you make more advanced cooking recipes. I also want to get into more seeds. So these are the special seeds I was telling you about. I want to set some of this up. But we'll get cactus and sugarcane. We'll be able to set those up in botany pots as well. I'm going to leave the botany pots in that room that they're in right now. But you can definitely hook up the external storage up to that drawer controller as well. And that way it'll read all the logs and everything that's in there and just make it easier to access it. Okay, let me get some food going. I'm going to make all these foods, kind of show you how. Well, I'm a goof. I'm over here talking about doing all these quests. Chicken, bacon, obviously needs pig. I don't have any passive mobs yet. I just talked about setting these up next episode. So pretty much all I was able to do was the pumpkin slice and the cabbage leaf. I do believe I have onions. I don't think I have rice panicles. I have rice. in there. But I'm going to go ahead and make the cooking pot. That I can do and kind of set up and show you how it works. But for the most part, I don't know how much. I'm probably not going to make any of these foods just now. But going to get that. And then I'll start working on the seeds and make it a culinary station. But okie dokie, this is the setup for the cooking pot. So you put the campfire underneath and the cooking pot goes on top. It's bubbling, but it doesn't require any water. You put the wooden bowl right here. And then you can actually look up any of the recipes that go into it by clicking the arrow in the middle, and you can actually just move the items directly into it. This one and the squid ink pasta are the two that I found that are the most valuable out of all the cooking recipes. The fish is already automated through the strainers. You got ink sacks that's already automated through the strainers. Raw pasta is just wheat mixed with either water or an egg, and then a tomato. So that's not a bad recipe, and neither is the other one. I think it's vegetables. Yeah, so anything you want to farm, and same thing, there's that raw pasta again. This is definitely a useful way of making food, and an easy way of making food. There is this sandwich factory. Kind of mix bread with whatever you want, and it makes a sandwich out of it. All of them are varying degrees of hunger fulfillment, but they also give pretty big gaps if you have a full sandwich, because I think it has like 5-6 slots for ingredients that you can put in a sandwich. I believe it's 5, and that'll just increase its effectiveness towards giving you nutrition. Editor Cyber Gamer here, and I apologize for the interruption to your regularly scheduled broadcasting, but we have some unfortunate news. Due to some technical difficulties, there is some video missing from our previous recording, so we will now forward it to Cyber Gamer, who will summarize and continue on to give you content. Thank you. Oh yeah, I had a small little issue. Lost some video. So I'm kind of going to just summarize what I went over in those clips, show you what I got done, and then we're going to add a little something new into the end of the episode and get something set up. We had gone over making the farms, and so I went ahead and I made all the seeds that we needed from the farm quest. So these were the seeds we were working on, bamboo seeds. These were the special craft seeds. So I did go ahead and get some stuff ready. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to show you how I was getting the liquid and then kind of go over how to craft the seed and how it works. So we've been making the organic matter here in the smeltery. So if you click it and put it at the bottom, you can actually place a bucket right here and dispense the liquid, and it'll fill the bucket. That's going to pop up and go into our chest once it's full. And that'll give us the bucket of organic water. Okay, so we'll take it over here. That's what you do is you place the bucket of water in the world, and then you drop these items into the water and it'll transform. So that'll give us our bamboo seed. And that's how you'll end up making all of these: the cactus, sugarcane, sweetberry, carrots, and potatoes. We also got into the animals. I had started the animals and got them going. But those are fairly easy. Just slightly out of range. There we go. So we'll make a couple cow baits. So that just takes leather, the egg from the chickens that we were getting. I'm going to go ahead and make 2 of them. So once we go away, we'll get a couple cows, and that's pretty much how you'll go through all the animals. Some of them require previous materials, like to make the mushroom, you actually need raw beef from the cow. Hello, piggy. Can't get out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get the materials together to set up what I want to kind of show you. Alrighty, I've gathered everything we need to make our passive mob farm. I'm going to kind of show you the beginning part. So I'm actually going to be using mob grinding utilities to make both my hostile and passive mob farm. So right now I'm going to set up the passive mob farm, and then I'll show you both and show you how it kind of works. But right now we can use this golden egg, and it creates a 5x5 area of delightful dirt, which will spawn passive mobs automatically. Then there's the rotten egg that makes dreadful dirt, and this will spawn hostile mobs. Alright, let's see how it goes. So I set it up like I did the hostile mob farm, and it's still not working. But we do have a hostile mob farm. So we're getting plenty of loot from hostile mobs. So the way this works is with mob grinding utilities, you have the mob master that'll actually damage the mobs, and you can put sharpness upgrades, looting upgrade, burning, beheading, and then in the back we've got a fan. And I've got width and height upgrades to make sure it'll fit a 5x5 area, and that pushes the mob this way, so that way they end up getting hit by these. Now they don't have to directly touch them, just them getting pushed up against that block. See if I get just close enough. It's gonna hit me. But the XP is going in here, so if we need XP for enchanting, and right here is the jelly baby setup. I've got to make a jelly baby, stick them in this ender chest, and send them over to that spawner, trying to get it to spawn. But that's what we're gonna have for our mob farm. We're getting plenty of ender pearls, so I've actually been able to, let me see, yep. I've actually been able to start setting up the network receivers for refined storage. I was also able to get Flux Network started. So we have Flux Networks going for our energy transfers, so now the jetpack stays full. Wireless crafting grid stays full. As long as we're in range of the antennas, we're all good. But I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. Got quite a bit done. Got the refined storage set up. Got a little bit of automation going. So some security guards. Can't tell if that's for intruders or for those guys, but either way, as long as they keep everybody in check. But anywho, if you liked the video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. And if you'd like to check out the next episode, go ahead and subscribe and hit that little bell. We do have a Discord. The link will be down in the description below. You can come check it out, come show some pictures, check out builds, and just kind of chit chat with everybody. But alright, you take it easy.